This is Matt Osborne. I'm at the School of the Americas protest at Fort Benning, Georgia. We're in Columbus, Georgia right now, and if I were on the other side of this fence, I would be in Fort Benning. I would also be in violation of several statutes, as the PA keeps reminding me.
No demonstrations, marches, or organized political activities of any type will be permitted on Fort Benning, Georgia. If you enter this installation, you will be in violation of Section 1382 and subject to fine and imprisonment.
In English and Spanish.
No se permitirán manifestaciones, marchas ni actividades políticas organizadas de ningún tipo en el Fuerte Benning, Georgia. De entrada en esta instalación, usted violará el título 18, sección 382 del Código.
The issue today is about a school behind me that has produced terrorists, dictators, right-wing death squads. And it's not that they mean to do that here, it's that the militarism being pushed on South America and Central America by American foreign policy produces these people. And the question is whether sending them to this school makes them better or just better terrorists.
We have different ways of connecting with Mercy, and this is something you might want to see too. Yeah. The critical concerns of the Sisters of Mercy. But we've got all kinds.
Our founder, who continues to stir up trouble, who continues to travel this country, making sure the word and truth is told, who travels throughout Latin America, speaking truth to power. Please welcome our founder, Father Roy Bourgeois.
Roy Bourgeois, where I'm from, Tallahassee, did 18 months at a Federal Correctional Institute prison in Tallahassee, Florida.
Father Roy is a member of Veterans for Peace, and Veterans for Peace was the first national organization to endorse the School of America's Watch when it was first founded.
On behalf of all at the SOA Watch, we just say bienvenidos, welcome. Once again, it's a great honor and a joy for us to come together in the name of peace, in the name of solidarity with our sisters and brothers of these countries throughout the Americas who are really on the receiving end of our foreign policy and have been made to suffer because of the school down the road.
We're headquartered in Louisville, Kentucky, and what we do is we create curriculum for church communities to help folks get engaged in the idea of learning about social justice and how it relates to their Christian foundation and the teachings of the gospel. And so what we do is basically through a course of 30 weeks of small group process, we get people involved through this small community through a series of reading, videos, engagement with people on the margins, people poor and low income folks. We get that small group engaged in a deepening of their own compassion and a transformation to the point where they, when finished with the process, not only feel a new sense of their own small community, but a deeper engagement in the world.
Yes, 20 years ago, 10 of us arrived here in Columbus, Georgia to investigate the school. We knew very little about it. It was after the murder of the 4 churchwomen, the assassination of Bishop Oscar Romero, and just months after a young mother from El Salvador, Elba, her teenage daughter Selena, and 6 Jesuits were massacred. A congressional task force reported that those responsible for these killings and massacres were trained at the U.S. Army School of the Americas at Fort Benning, Georgia. And that's when we came here to investigate. It didn't take long for us to discover that this school was connected to untold suffering and death throughout the Americas. It was but a symbol of our foreign policy. And what we found, of course, was that we, the taxpayers, were pumping millions of dollars each year into this school that led to oppression and suffering. Needless to say, that money is a theft back then and today from the schools for our children here at home and elsewhere.
I joined Veterans for Peace because I'm against the war. I'm against all wars. I've seen too much. I feel so bad for the kids. And the kids are now 25 years old. They're coming back from Iraq. But I feel worse for the kids that are downrange in Iraq and Afghanistan. I wish I could do more. If you take a look at my Facebook page, it's all about damn kids, you know. Save them from enteric diseases. Make sure they're well watered. Make sure they have potable water. Make sure they have enough food.
Just allow conscious objectors not to have any of their taxes go towards war. And basically what I am attempting to do is recruit people to be willing to contact their local congressperson and tell them they need to support our legislation. John Lewis out of Atlanta, Georgia is our primary sponsor. And we've got other sponsors you can see by the sheets are down there who have indicated they're willing to support our legislation.
Working to build the movement to oppose U.S. militarism and the militarization of relations with Latin America. So this is a good time to address the bloated Pentagon budget when there's all the concerns about the deficit and can't just cut those things that keep us healthy and feed and house us and give us jobs. It's time to put the Pentagon budget on the chopping block as well.
If we just spent like 2 or 3% of the money we're spending on the damn War Department, we can feed every damn kid. We give every kid a goddamn water. We give them medical care.
Over here, the coca leaves have turned into dollar bills, and this ant is mixing with the coca about 50 other chemicals that are used to make cocaine. And of course, it's all being exported here to the U.S. How crazy is it that our country is waging a war on a plant that grows naturally in the Andes Mountains when there are these 50 other chemicals that are also important ingredients in cocaine that we could be controlling instead?
You have union leaders, for example, in Colombia and the history in Guatemala, where these people trained at the SOA end up killing people who are union activists and union leaders in order to crush any effort to build a strong labor movement in these countries.
Word began to spread. A movement was born. And we went from hundreds to thousands gathering here to say, not in our name. And we came in the name, as today, in the name of peace and solidarity. I'm happy to say that today we have folks here from Australia, from throughout the Americas. Over 100 college students drove 21 hours in vans from King's College in Canada. And we have you here from California to New York, from Chicago to New Orleans. Once again, we gather to say, not in our name. And all I can say is, what can be more important than peacemaking? What can be more important than holding on to hope? And so let our celebration of hope begin.
I feel like dancing. Come dance with me. I feel like dancing. Dance 'cause we are free. Roots rock reggae. That's where the music goes. Roots rock reggae. That's where the music goes.
This is the Bradley Manning table. Bradley Manning did the WikiLeaks, okay? Okay, we got cards for him. Send him a card. We got his address on him. He's looking at 50 years. We'll be dead before he gets out of prison, you know that?
And I went to prison in 1998, 99 for actions here at the School of the Americas. Nonviolence resistance and civil disobedience are powerful forces for resistance for justice in our world. And this movement is the longest sustained, largest resistance movement in the United States since Vietnam War. There have been thousands of people who have crossed the line onto the base of Fort Benning, who have put their resistance in actions. 289 of those people have been sentenced to prison or probation for nonviolent resistance, and collectively they have served 98 years. They have been teenagers through people in their 80s.
I would like to thank all of you who wrote to us while we were in prison. That was very much appreciated. It's a great relief from the tedium and boredom of prison.
Paul and Silas bound in jail, had no money for to go their bail. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on.
The Veterans for Peace was founded in 1985 in response to Reagan's policies in Central America. So the whole issues that SOA Watch deals with was very central to the founding of Veterans for Peace.
The present assistant commandant of the School of Assassins is now from Mexico. He is the first Mexican officer to participate in the leadership of the School of Torture.
Okay. Veterans for Peace got started up in Maine when veterans looking around for organizations, wanted to stand up against the war, got together and started forming an organization. It started up in Maine. I'm in chapter 15. There's like 175 chapters now all across the country.
In Boston, they're told they can't march in the Veterans Parade, so they march right after the Veterans Day Parade. And last year, they formed up in front of the speaker's stand with masking tape across their faces to indicate how their free speech was being stifled. They were all arrested.
In Mexico, over 26,000 reported executions have occurred in the last 4 years in Mexico. Teachers, human rights workers, indigenous groups, labor groups have continually fought for economic independence, only to find continued repression from the government leaders trained in the U.S. and military trained at the School of Americas. Graduates of the SOA have played a key role in the civilian targeted warfare in the states of Chiapas, Guerrero, and Oaxaca.
But the unfortunate thing is the same behavior of the company as bottlers in areas in Latin America, like in Colombia and Guatemala, are continuing to this day. And the union leaders down there have made it very clear that the lawsuits and the campaign against Killer Coke is really what's saving a lot of lives down here in terms of people standing up for workers' rights.
It's a broad social justice movement that involves the women's movement, the civil rights movement, the immigration rights movement, the gay rights movement, the labor movement. Everybody together has to support social justice, not in one election, not in one rally, not in one event. If we're committed to social justice, it is a lifetime commitment. And it is a commitment that we will put love and caring and social conscience and social justice above any individual group's desires. It's about all of us working together to support one another. Thank you for being out today.
Siempre en la lucha con el compañero Harold. Se acerca la muerte, viene siempre. Si uno pobre o el rebelde, no sé cómo escapar. Otro guerrillero, más pobreza, más violencia. Esas son las consecuencias. No sé dónde va a parar. Otra guerrillera más.
Las mujeres en la lucha no nos pueden parar. Sube tu bandera al alto, vamos a representar. Un gobierno ultrajando nuestra inocencia. Es tiempo de rescatar la justicia. Oye, nena, una niña latina sale en la esquina y los hombres la miran como si está en vitrina. ¿Dónde están las lolitas, asadas, toppings y adelitas? Faltan guerrilleras para una nueva vida. Así que apúrate, apúrate. Let's go, apúrate, apúrate.
Bases? No. Bridges? Yes. Bases? No.
20 years ago, the School of the Americas Watch movement was born in response to the plea of our Latin American neighbors to close the school that was training their young men to return home to massacre their own people.
Do we want money to build more military bases in Latin America? No! The grassroots movement to close this school of assassins has been successful in educating and mobilizing thousands and has opened the eyes of large sectors of society to the reality of U.S. foreign policy toward Latin America.
Do we want money to build bridges for a culture of peace between the Americas?
Yes!
Bridges?
Yes!
Bases?
No!
Bridges?
Yes!
Bases?
No!
Bridges?
Yes!
Bases?
No! The SOA is not an aberration of U.S. foreign policy, but a clear illustration of it. As a movement, it is important for us to address and challenge the massive expanse of U.S. militarization in Latin America, which has taken place largely unnoticed by the U.S. public over the past few years.
Me lying here represents all the dead bodies of people that have been tortured, mutilated, disappeared, and we either find their mutilated bodies or families that are never heard from again, and you just don't know what happened to your brother or your aunt or your uncle or your dad or whoever else. So
Paul and Silas began to shout. Doors popped open and all walked out. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on.
cae un perro dando los patrones. Aguacero de mayo, déjalo caer, agua, agua. Aguacero de mayo, déjalo caer. Aguacero de mayo, déjalo, venga, venga, que venga la diosa.
Make corporate personhood an issue for whatever issue they're working on, because that is what's keeping us from advancing any of the progressive agenda. That's what's made us, I'm sorry to say, a fascist country. And if you've been here today, you've seen some real good examples of why I say that. There's police right behind me. There were police, federal agents, county agents all around us, spying on us, taking photographs. I hope that I made the FBI's attention. I mean, I've been doing this for a while. Come on, guys. So join the movement. It's fun, and it's the only way we're going to make a world that our children can live in peace. Thanks.
By assembling as an organized group without a demonstration permit for this location, you are in violation of the law. Sidewalks, public passageways, and/or Georgia Code 16-10-24. Georgia Code 16-10-24, obstruction or hindering law enforcement officers.
The puppetistas, who are the big puppets, did a show for us and let us out of the gates of where we were meeting. When they were doing that, there was a planned civil disobedience, but the police act very disproportionately. They were arresting people just for taking pictures. They arrested 3 journalists. Also, there were 2 people who crossed the line purposefully to risk federal arrest. So now we are calling for jail solidarity, which means people are going to meet at the jail in order to show their support. Show the support for the people who intended arrest, and especially for those who did not intend arrest. The problem is that what we are protesting that is taught at the School of Americas was brought directly to the streets in Columbus right now. So to show solidarity with those people in jail, we're calling for everyone to go and converge in front of the jail.
Bound in jail, had no money for to go their bail. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Paul and Silas began to shout. Doors popped open and all walked out. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Well, the only chains we can stand are the chains of hand in hand. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Got my hand on the freedom flower. Wouldn't take nothing for my journey now. on.